Okay, we've got a live stream cooking. All right, let's see. Got stripes because the sun is blasting through the window, and we got these slots in there for storms and whatever. They're kind of plastic, but they block the sun, that's for sure. So let me look at the weather today. It's weird. Let's see. They're predicting rain at 50% today. My wife's weather came up at 80 something percent. I don't know. It's pretty sunny. I don't know. Tomorrow, no rain. Then Friday, rain. Saturday, rain. Who knows? They keep changing it. It's annoying, but we'll see. And today is obviously the 11th of February, and it's about 8:20 in the morning here. It's going to be about high 60s, 66ish. So it'll be pleasant enough. The dogs will like the weather. We'll be okay. House isn't going to warm up as long as these rains keep coming. Our house is going to be problematically cold with use of heaters all the time. You go outside and it gets warmer. That's the crazy thing here. You go outside and you warm up. It's nuts. I mean, Israel has not good weather. Believe me. But I also believe that's going to change when we get into redemption. Let's see. All right. All right, I'm going to go look at the live stream and see. Well, we're going to cover today is what's going on in Iran mostly. And then we're going to talk about Netanyahu with Trump and Iran and what's developing and what we think's going to happen, when and how. And more cargo planes are still coming into the Middle East, and they're bringing stuff into Azerbaijan and Turkmenistan. So they might still be moving more and more equipment in. We don't know yet. Yesterday, I think me and a lot of people came to the conclusion that they stopped bringing equipment in, but it started up again, not in a massive way. And Russia and China appear to still be continuing it. I don't know who started the rumor. Iran probably, that they're going to fly fourth or fourth and a half generation Chinese jets that they have maybe a handful of. Um, Maybe they will, but to train the pilot properly takes about a year. And am I going to believe that China took all the instrumentation, all the panels and everything, and changed the language so it also works in Farsi? Well, I don't know. With the computers, it's not that hard to do it, but I don't know if they did. So the instructions might be in Chinese, which means the Iranians are going to go, So we'll see what happens. It takes about a year for China to train a pilot to fly sophisticated jets. Now, the Iranian pilots are used to jets that go back to Clinton. Really. So they don't know from these things. I mean, they're not, I don't know what they're going to do, but this is their problem, not my problem. All right, I want to see how the live stream's cooking. Uh-oh. Oh no, there we go. I didn't think we had sound. Oh no, there we go. I didn't think we had sound. Oh no, there we go. I didn't think we had sound. Oh no. All right. People are coming in. Or are they? Yeah. All right, let me get my post up in there, which will take a few seconds. All right, and let me finish this. And I think we're done. Let me make sure. Yep, we're finished with that. Okay. Being a Bible believing site, Old and New Testament, I'm going to do some praise and you could join in. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. So, let's see what we can come up with, okay? In the news, and there's going to be a lot of where we're going to have to look at it and talk and try to come up with conclusions as to what is behind these actions in the news, right? It's normally that way, but now it's a little bit more difficult, okay? Basically, Iran is punking out. Okay, worse than Trump did last time. Iran, well, no, about the same. Iran is just not knowing what to do. They're scared. Um, there's been practically every day explosions and fires in Iran. The latest were in military buildings, and they're in terror over there because it's somebody's attacking. Okay, now let's try to analyze, who's attacking. Okay. Is it Nassau, Bahamas? No, I don't think so. Okay. Is it the Christmas Islands? No, no. Okay. So let's get real. Who could be doing it? America, Israel, or boots on the ground special forces from America or Israel, or protesters with the help of America and Israel? And what do I think it is? I think it's drones, and I would be supported by a lot of people. I believe it's drones hitting precise targets. Is it possible somebody is laser painting the targets? Sure, sure. How do you do that? Well, I know a guy that used to do that. He used to go into Syria. We're talking 80s probably. He was a nice guy. He lives in Australia. A really nice guy. So what he did is he would he was in special forces, and he would take that was probably back then about this size, I guess, and it had a battery in there, and you shine the thing on your target. Now, lasers go a tremendously long distance. 5 miles is nothing for a powerful laser. So that would enable the system to get a GPS precise location to the incoming. But I mean, today it's so precise. If you paint it on the window, you can get the drone to blow up through the window. So they use this to get apartments in a building, and they get the right apartment. You paint the apartment. That's likely what's doing it. Do I think it's the protesters that are targeting this? No. I don't think they would use anybody but special forces that have been in special forces for 4 or 5 years or more. They don't want mistakes. They don't want hitting the building or the apartment next door or the house next door and killing, a woman that's a widow with 4 children or something like that. They don't want anything like that. So could there be special forces on the ground? Yeah, they would have to know a certain amount of Farsi, okay? That's the language that they speak in Iran. It's called Farsi, Farsi. It's not Arabic. They're not Arabs. They're mostly Shiite Muslims. So they, if they went to language school for a while, like a year maybe, they would be pretty effective in Farsi. In other words, they could go into a restaurant, a deli, and start asking the guy how fresh the chicken is and what kind of cheese do you have today, and oh, I need a softer cheese. What do you have? Stuff like that, right? 6 months, he'd be very superficial, talk like a second grader, maybe. After a year, talk like somebody in the 9th grade or something, maybe 10th grade, or, they'd be able to. Now, then if he was in Muslim, if he's doing Farsi, then he would have to be in Farsi, in Iran, or practicing for an extensive period of time to get better and better at it. But I would expect that the government would be encouraging special forces to bone up on Farsi, probably at least 2-3 years ago or 4 years, I mean, so what does that mean? Well, when they go to a language school with the military, it's an all-day thing, okay? So if you're a special forces, you're going to get up in the morning and probably take a run, and then you might do an obstacle course when you get everything done at once, which is a run, and then you stop at certain stations and do, 50 or 100 sit-ups. Then you get another station, you do 10 or 12 pull-ups. You're running, and you go to another station, and you're doing something with leg lifts. You're on an incline like this, and you're holding on, and you're picking your legs up. And, they might have 8 or 10 of these stations, or even 12. And you're going to be getting a much better exercise. Or you could just do your run and then do an obstacle course, which takes, 10 minutes. And that's it for the day. Then they go and they get chow, and they shower and change and get chow. And then they go to language school, and they have classroom work, and then they have recorders, computerized things. They put headsets on, they sit at a desk, and the computer reads it to them. It's probably AI, reads to them, and then they answer questions back in Farsi, and then the AI corrects their accent. And initially the first of them is going to have a very heavy accent. These are guys that they're going to use for interpreters if they capture a prisoner, or they want to interrogate civilians, or they encounter people in the field and they don't know what they're doing and where and how and who, what, when, or they want to ask civilians questions about something. So these are people that probably went 3 months to 6 months to language school, and they have a simplified language, ability to work with the people. They're not really interpreters. They will go out with a platoon or something, or a group of 6 or 8, and they can interact. Okay. Then you got guys that probably went 6 months, and they could be used as lightweight interpreters. Now they also hire locals to work as interpreters, but you got to watch your security on that. And then you got guys that really know what they're doing, and that's probably going to be at least a year. And they go, not like you go to college and you take a 45-minute class 3 days a week. They're sitting in the classroom probably 5 hours, 4 or 5 hours, 6 hours a day. So not everybody's cut out for that. I'm not, but they are probably given an incentive, and I would say they're probably going to get bumped up in rank if they do this. So if they're like a corporal, they become a sergeant, or sergeant, a master sergeant, or something like that, or they could get an extra bump in their pay if they're already the sergeant with all the stuff. They can get an extra pay incentive for that. And So they could be inside Iran. You got to be an idiot to walk around inside Iran if you can't speak the language. I mean, you can get an ID card. The government can make that, I'm sure. But is the ID card inside the Iranian computer system? That's the question, right? Maybe yes, maybe no. Maybe they could hack in and do it from another country, or maybe not. All they have to do to keep the hackers out is keep this system off the internet, which isn't hard to do. Then hacking in is not so easy, but it could be done. So then the police or the military can take an ID card, punch it into the database, on whatever they give them to do that, unless Iran is so antiquated they don't have that. And then they could look at the ID card in the system, the picture and all the information, and compare with the person's ID card. One way you can do that is find somebody in the system that looks like you, maybe somebody that left and came to America, and they give you their ID card, and that's in the system, and it's real, and they're never going back to Iran, so they don't care. They don't have enough family there to get punished or whatever, right? So they could be running around in Iran painting it. But if you speak really good English like we do, and you're walking around in Iran, I don't care how you dress, and you could have an ID card. You might look right. Your ID card is going to be right, and you're not right. And they're going to want to know where the heck you came from. And what are you going to tell them? Well, I married an Iranian woman, and we moved to America, and then we came back, and blah 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 blah. Yeah, you're gonna go for secondary interrogation with a story like that. They want to hear where do you live? Where were you born? What was your mother and father? What did they do? What was your address? What school did you go to? What high school did you go to? Did you go to college? What bank do you use? You know, these are questions that, how are you going to answer those if you're just a soldier that snuck in last week? You're not. And then what are they going to do? They're going to take you in and give you a horrible interrogation, and you wish you were dead. Yeah, that's not. They don't do it that way. They do it much better. But Another way to do it is, they can use actual Iranians that they've recruited and maybe they trained, and that might be it. I mean, what does it take a few days to train somebody to paint the laser? It's not hard. So maybe that's what they did. But it's putting Iran in chaos. You see, the drones aren't making a lot of noise. And Iran's not turning on their air defense systems. Hardy har har. That means their radar is not picking up whatever is being used. Now, if the drones are fired from within Iran, the radar is trying to catch stuff entering into the borders, crossing the borders, so they may not get it. But then we'd have to figure out how you're going to smuggle a lot of drones into Iran. That doesn't sound easy to me. So, it's kind of confusing. These are the things that we're really not sure how they do it. They're not going to tell us. Now, Israeli special forces, there are people in Israel that grandma and grandpa were from Iran. And probably not mommy and daddy, but, grandma and grandpa. And grandma and grandpa spoke Farsi in the house, plus Hebrew. So mommy and daddy know Farsi, and then they passed it on to the kid. Why? Because if you're in the military and you're applying for special forces and you tell them you're a 7th degree black belt in karate, well, now they're interested in you, right? Or you're, very, very experienced with paragliding. You've had one for 4 years and you've flown it a lot. Oh, now we're interested, right? Or you speak fluent Farsi. Ka-ching, ka-ching, the bells go off. Oh, they put you right into special forces school. And then they tell the instructor, this guy got a pass. They do that with other agencies. Like years ago, they didn't have law enforcement in San Francisco that could infiltrate the Chinese gangs. So, a guy comes in and says he wants to be a special agent with DEA or customs or whatever, right? And he speaks fluent Cantonese. Well, and he has a college degree and he's physically able. Well, they put him in, and the special agent in charge of San Francisco contacts the academy when he goes through the academy and explains to them how important it is that this guy doesn't flunk out. Now, if the guy's a nerd or a jerk, like he starts getting drunk and stealing and lying, he got to go. But they people wash out of these academies, and I think they do that on purpose. I think they hire people they're pretty sure are going to wash out, and they're targeted to be washed out to scare the others. And sometimes they just make mistakes. But they're always going to wash people out and make you think you're so selective, that you passed and you got in and, So my take on it is drones are doing this, probably Israel. maybe boots on the ground, because Israel could put people on the ground, and so could America. Look, when it comes to intelligence agencies, Israel's extremely good, and America's highly effective. I wouldn't say extremely good, but they're very effective. They operate somewhat differently and stuff like that. Do you know if these guys get arrested, right? The agency, I don't care what country it is, the agency pays them for every day they're in jail. Usually they get them out within 2 years. It'd be hard to imagine. They trade them, they get them out. So the guy or the gal gets put in jail, and they might make $1,000 a day more. Some might get 300. If you're coming from like a Pakistan or something, you might get 300 or 200 a day or something like that. So they could use it to pay your family and that sort of thing. But if you're like from America or Great Britain or something like that, getting paid 500 to 1,000 a day would not be outrageous. It would be pretty much what they do. Some of these guys actually don't care if this happens to them. But they get out in a year or two, they got hundreds of thousands of dollars. They can buy a very nice house, cash, no payments, right? And they could furnish it, and customize it, and buy a brand new car. And now what are their bills now? Nothing. Property taxes, electric, water, internet, phone, food. That's about it, isn't it? Gas. Life changes big time for that, That's really the only way I think you make it well in America is you have to have your house free and clear. And if you got your house free and clear, then life is easy. All right. Well, somebody's attacking Iran every day and they're not countering. Okay. So why are they not counterattacking? Obviously, fear. What are they afraid of? Well, if Trump and Israel and the UK, who's in on this, all put it in their mind to go pound Iran, all three of them, Iran's going to come out of the ring looking like they had a fight with a 1,600-pound bull. I mean, they're going to barely be walking. Maybe Iran's trying to train the pilots. They got what, 5? Maybe they picked up more. Maybe they got 12 planes, 15 planes. What are they going to do? They'll take off. They'll have an underground hangar, no problem. So they'll be immune from attacks, so to speak. They'll take off and they'll engage American and Israeli pilots in dogfights. I doubt that. I doubt the capability of their aircraft radar and their aircraft computers and aircraft missile systems would hold up to Israeli and American and British. British are on F-35s, as is America, as is Israel, okay? So I don't think they would be able to dogfight an F-35 and bring it down. But even if they were, the degree of the expertise of the pilots is going to be way different between Great Britain, Israel, and America, because these pilots have been trained on sophisticated aircraft for years. And they're not sending kids out there that just got out of flight school in September. They're not doing that. Okay, Iran would be sending kids that just got out of flight school in February. you know, um, what's Iran thinking? They're thinking that if they launch these jets and they take out some F-35s, or they actually can fire on American naval vessels and destroy them, that America will run away. Well, they're right. Trump will run away if they could demonstrate the ability to take down aircraft in flight and take out American naval vessels. Trump will run away. I know that. But I doubt they'll have the capability of doing that. They're not going to be that effective. They'll be ineffective, and they'll fall like flies. Excuse me, I don't know what this is. Yeah. I already did that. Okay, bye. Bye. That was my wife. All right. The reports of the explosions and the burning in Iran is widespread. I mean, it's happening. That's not questionable news. That's not what's going on. All right. So somebody already started a war with Iran, and whoever it is not getting any retaliation from Iran. So you got to understand that, okay? So the war started, okay? My take is it's probably a combination of people doing it, but Israel and America are heavily involved. Military warehouses and buildings have exploded in recent days. And, this is scaring Iran too. So they're saying, well, maybe they're just afraid to do anything. They don't know what'll come. Remember, they've been wiring and transferring their money, the government people, out of the country like crazy. That did not go on back in the June war. Okay. And the F-22s are more than likely coming to the Middle East. They were going to fly in Super Bowl, and they made an announcement that they can't because they've got a business to take care of, basically. They use military talk, but they were saying, we got business we need to take care of, so we can't be playing games here. Now, isn't it crazy that the American government sends aircraft to do flyovers for football games? Okay, when they do Super Bowl, what I say is I hope both sides lose. Okay, it just wastes people's time. It keeps people away from what the government is doing or any meaningful form of thought. What does it matter? Who the heck wins? It's ridiculous. And they pay these football players outrageous sums of money. So people emulate that. Oh, I wish I was like him. In the 50s and 60s, you had famous ball players, baseball, right? Like Mickey Mantle and, stuff like that. So, I mean, back then, maybe you got out of college and you got a good job, you made $10,000 and $12,000 a year. So Mickey Mantle was probably getting $100,000 a year. And then Mickey Mantle was getting endorsements for baseball gloves, for sodas, for baseball bats, all kinds of things. So, he was probably making $250,000 a year, $500,000 a year, which was a lot of money back then. A beautiful house was $50,000 back then. A really beautiful big house. Not a mansion, but mansions were probably 250,000. Okay. So, Mickey Mantle was a household name. He was a really big star. He was a great outfielder, and he'd hit a large amount of home runs. He was basically a Babe Ruth in a modern era, right? And they weren't paying, a guy like Mickey Mantle today would be getting, they give him $100 million contract for 2 or 3 years. They get generational wealth. It's ridiculous. What is this all about? So, what is football? Football is, it's going to sound funny, but it's kind of true. It's a half joke and half real. It's a land acquisition game. They try to get more yards, right? And they fight to get it. And they fight over a stupid piece of pigskin, a football, and then when they get close enough, they throw the projectile or the arrow into the target, which is the posts, and they got to get it through the post. And they kill each other, they cripple each other, they go for surgeries. Football players, after some years, they become very effective. What does that mean? A newbie that just comes into the pros and doesn't have 3 5 years playing in the pros isn't really savvy to all the tricks and what he's going to be facing from the other side when they rush each other and try to tackle the guy and not let him throw the ball and all that. They don't understand the dirty. They're just not completely fluent in it like somebody that's been doing it for 4 or 5 years. So some of the older ones, they keep on because they know how to play the game. They know all the dirty tricks like linemen and stuff like that. They're really good at it. They wind up getting surgeries. So by the time these guys are, they're 10, 12 years into it, it's about over. They're taking anti-inflammatories. They're taking steroids to heal better. They're taking pain pills under moderation, usually. They're taking physical therapy almost every day. They're sitting in special whirlpools, maybe with Epsom salts, almost every day. They're stretching. They're going to chiropractors. They're doing red light therapy. They're doing TENS units. They're doing all this stuff. And it's an all-day life. And now let's talk about other people that they do this to. Ballerinas. These are young girls that usually start studying dance at about 3, 4 years old. By the time they hit 17, 18, 16, 19, they go into a ballet group, okay? There's a lot of them around. New York Ballet, I think, is one of the most famous ones. The Moscow has one. And there's another one in New York called Joffrey that's not as famous. I knew a girl many years ago that was in Joffrey. Uh, but the prima ballerinas, they work, they'll usually get up someplace around 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock, some of them. And they got different routines, but a lot of them might take a bucket of ice and put their feet in it for the inflammation, maybe not. And then um, they're going to get dressed. Maybe they take a shower or maybe they do that later and they get themselves dressed up. And they go out of the house and they watch their diet like crazy. So they're going to eat very, very healthy. If they're not going to eat very, very healthy, they're not going to have a career. So they're going to eat. They got diet counselors. They get, they'll take herbs and supplements. So they'll reduce swelling with magnesium. They don't have it as bad as the football players, okay? They don't break collarbones and necks and vertebrae and knees. They don't have that. That's pretty rare. Now, sometimes they do because they're jumping up in the air and people are holding them up and they have an accident and they fall, but that's very uncommon. It usually doesn't happen. They got to work on their ballerina shoes. They got to break them and loosen them. And they go through a pair of shoes, every 2 or 3 weeks, probably, or more. So they probably have 5 or 10 pairs of shoes laying around at any given time. And then they go to the studio, and this will sound weird, but they might stretch for 2 hours or at least an hour. They got to stretch so much. Their neck, their back, their legs, their arms, everything. They're stretching. And then they start doing their routines. And they're in tremendous shape. As a martial artist for many years, I used to envy how they just jump up in the air and spin around and stuff like that. Now, for a guy to do that, you got to keep your weight down. And you don't see guys in the ballet that are, well, sometimes you do. Rudolf Nureyev was a big muscular character and he was able to do it. So it could happen. But I mean, you don't see a 6'3", 220-pound ballet guy. I don't think they're usually short, 5'6", 5'7", 5'9". They don't get that high up in the height usually. Then they just jump up in the air and spin with their legs and kick out. I mean, it's amazingly difficult. And they do it in rapid repetition. I mean, they are really, really, really in condition. I mean, you're not going to find SEALs Team 6 guys even holding a candle to them. Would they be able to do an obstacle course like a Navy SEAL? No, because they don't do anything involving climbing, for instance, right? And they don't do things where you hang on with one hand, they're not doing stuff like that. So it's a completely different set of tasks. Could they, if you sat there with them and explained, well, this is how you do this and this is how you do that, and would they be able to get through it? Probably, because they're in pretty good shape. A lot of them are picking up partners and holding them up in the air. Now, that's, going to strengthen your upper body a lot. It's a whole different thing, but they are in really, really, really amazing shape. So this ballerina gal, she's going to work a 6 to 8 hour day, probably 6 days a week, but 5 anyway. And so she's like going to the gym for 6 to 8 hours. They get, as part of that time, there'll be a coach that teaches them and tries to improve their technique. Maybe works with them 45 minutes or a half hour or an hour during the day. And they might have somebody else that watches them and corrects them, depending on how high up they are, you know. And usually they're working on one, you know, the Swan Ballet or something like that. They're working on one thing at a time because that's what their ballet troupe is producing. They're in Boston and they're doing, you know, I don't know, Snow White or something, whatever, right? So they keep working on that. That's what they, and they might be there doing that for a year or 6 months. So it's very, 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 very difficult what they do. You know, I knew them. When I was very young, I worked with health clubs in New York, which was kind of a very unserious job. I was managing some, and it was, we had ballet people working on staff. We had dancers, professional dancers that were often on Broadway shows on staff. We had opera singers, we had singers, we had models. These are the kind of people we used to hire. We used to put ads up where they had the Screen Actors Guild, and they would come in, and we hired a lot of them. These were people that were typically not Satan bots that were trying to make it in show business, and of course, they never got anywhere. They weren't Satan bots. They would just, you know, get lousy parts and support. They would never really, you know, ever get anywhere with it. So they used to work in the health club. It was sad at the time. I wasn't a believer, but they didn't know what was going on, you know. No, they got to fill the stage up with 20 dances. They don't want to, you know, they're going to just hire these kids and pay them poorly. And the kids are going to say, oh, I'm going to get a break. And, you know, you're never going to get a break because you're not a Satan bot. The same kids would get drums or guitar or clarinet and learn how to play music and think they're going to go out and make it in a band. Not a Satan bot, you don't have a chance. Not a prayer. Even as a Satan bot, there's so few that make it, you know. With Russia, it's the Bolshoi ballet. And these ballerinas can make a lot of money. I guess some of them are making $1 million a year, 2-3 million a year. And when they get older, they pretty much got to stop because they can't do all the stretching and stuff like that. What's older? I think some of them can go to about 40, 35 to 40. And then it's over. They could be a choreographer, they could be a coach, they could get involved with producing ballets, they could teach ballet, they can do a lot of things. So if they were a prima ballerina, there's a big market for them. When they get old, they can do many different things. A ballet troupe may hire them to do a lot of things, to coach, to teach, you know, help train them, scout for talent, all kinds of things. So they're probably not going to make millions, but they'll make a good living. The guy or the woman that runs the ballet troupe has to be a Satan bot because they get support from the Satan bot wealthy business people. And these people like it because they go to special parties where the ballet troupe is there, and they mingle with these people, and they're told to be nice to them, and they are. And they meet them and talk to them and all that kind of stuff, right? And they like that, and they go to charity events, and they like that because the ballet troupe is there, and they get great seats, and yeah. They could bring their business people that they want to impress to the ballet, get them great seats, and then have them go after the ballet and hang out with the ballet dancers, and talk to them. And, it helps them in business. So Netanyahu talking to Trump. This is a put-on job, okay? Don't buy into this. The newspapers are saying Trump has new intel he's going to give to Donald. He probably does have intel, but it's uploaded to America right then and there. The information sharing between Israel and America in the Middle East is amazingly flowing. Now, I don't know how much information about Russia and China America gives to Netanyahu, probably a considerable amount. But in the Middle East, they're sharing pretty freely. I'm afraid what we're going to see is, for some reason, Trump's not going to attack Iran. They'll have a cover story, and Israel will. And Trump might say, well, Netanyahu, I never told you to go attack Iran, so you're on your own. That could happen. So that's Trump's way of saying, I don't want to get involved in this at all. You're my puppet, Netanyahu. You take care of it. Or he might let Israel attack Iran and then tell the Iranians, if you counterattack Israel, I'm going to get in the fight. Now, will Trump tell them that? Yeah, he'll tell them that. Would he mean it? I don't know. And Trump has funny ideas about what gets in the fight means. He told the protesters, of which by now way over 100,000 are probably dead, plus in addition to that, a lot in jail on their way to being dead. And, oh, don't worry, help is coming. Well, gee, Trump, where the heck is the help? So that's an empty promise. Don't kid yourself. The protesters might give Trump one more chance. After that, they'll never believe him unless he pulls through. So my hunch is telling me this is going to be an evil deed that Netanyahu and Trump cooked up together, and Israel's going to attack Iran on its own, and they're going to think they're not on their own, but they are. But they're not, because Jehovah's for them. He says that. So they're not going to be in bad shape, okay? And this could be the destruction of Elam, which is Iran and Iraq predominantly. And it could be it. Iraq has put troops with an armored column by the green zone where the Americans are with their bases. And I heard people telling me that they're there to protect the American bases. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. I believe they're there so they could attack the American bases at a moment's notice. Now, the alibi story might be we're there to protect the American bases. But if you're going to believe that, I have a bridge that connects New York and London I could sell you for $100, you know? It's just, what it'll look like if Netanyahu or Israel attacks is a lot of F-35s, probably 100 will be utilized. Well, not just F-35s, F-15s, F-16s. We don't have F-18 Hornets, such an aircraft carrier plane. So we don't have F-22s. We don't have B-1s. We don't have B-2s. We don't have B-52s. Is it possible that we wake up one day or one night and Iran is just shooting missiles at anybody and everybody? Yeah. I think Khomeini's in this for broke. He's going for broke. He's going to get rid of his enemies, or he's already got his money out of Iran. He's leaving. He's saying that he put in place people as replacements for him if he gets killed. Let's read this correctly. That's what it says, but what it means is I put people in place if I have to leave the country, they'll be in power. That's what he means. If he thought he was going to be getting killed, he'd be changing his location and his haunts in such a way that he would be pretty convinced he's not going to get killed. And I think that's already happened. He's just concerned with leaving. People are saying Trump brought 50,000 troops into the Middle East. I don't believe that. There was about 58,000 troops here in the 20 bases in the Middle East before this blew up. And he might have brought in 5 or 10. Well, I think he definitely did bring in 5,600. I mean, maybe he brought another 5,600 in or something like that, but that's about it. Okay? He's not doing any ground invasion. He'd have to be up around 750,000 or 1 million. And that kind of a ground invasion would mean America and Israel dropped 900 or 1,500 bombs on Iran. And the country's really unstable. Then they could come in at a number like that. But if they've got resistance from the army and the IRGC and the police and all that in Iran, and we're going to need a few million soldiers. The chances of being able to run the country with 50 or 100,000 soldiers is pretty non-existent, unless the government is completely defunct. Then they bring a few thousand soldiers in to support the Shah's son and the protesters that form a new government. And they have 3,000 or 5,000 soldiers, maybe 8,000 in Tehran. Maybe, and 2 or 3 other cities or something like that. And that's the seat of the government. And they'll keep soldiers there with armor to protect, a counter rising up or something like that. Right? If they have a building that's the seat of the new government, you might see 10 or 12 tanks in different layers around that building. It's very difficult in a city to get past tanks. They cut you down with the machine guns. Now, is it possible that Netanyahu has tricks up his sleeve? I'm rather sure Netanyahu does, because that's how he likes to fight. I'd be surprised if he doesn't. Are these tricks going to be good for Israel? Yeah. The Iron Beam can take down hypersonic ballistic missiles, and he might have a lot of those. We don't know. And he does takedowns with them effectively. I don't know. America set up a lot of THAAD systems in Jordan, where there's a lot of military assets for America set up in Jordan. Jordan is near us. I get in the car 20, 30 minutes, I'll be at the Jordan border. And I'm not talking 20, 30 minutes on an interstate. I'm talking about a 30, 45 mile. The roads would be like, 20 miles an hour to 45 or something like that, not any high-speed roads. We had the THAADs back in June with the 12-day war with Iran, and Iran still got 17% of their missiles through. They defeated the Arrow. They defeated David Sling. They defeated the Iron Dome and the THAAD. Now Israel has the Iron Beam. So the Iranian missiles got to go through 5 layers, but they were going through 4 layers back in June. Now, we don't know what advances the Iranians made in their offensive missiles, and they don't know what improvements we made in our defensive program. We don't know any of this yet. I'm pretty sure we're about to find out. Trump doesn't give a hoot about us getting attacked. I think he prefers it. What Trump might do, let Iran and Israel go round and round the mulberry bush attacking each other, and Israel's going to take some damage, and then after some days of that, Trump says, okay, I'm going to shut this down. And then he deploys 200, 300, 400 aircraft to start bombing Iran relentlessly. After a few days of that, it'll be over. Might take 10 days, Iran shutting the Persian Gulf, probably 90%. It's a high probability. It's in place, ready to go. So I don't know when, but it looks like any minute now. Let's see what's going on with oil prices and gold and silver. Crude oil prices by the barrel, prices now, current now. You got to tell AI you want the price right now. Maybe we went up $1 or not even. Yeah, we went up $1 or $2, I think. The WTI, that's the American crude per barrel, is $65. 64 to 65. If it went up by anything, it went up by $1, maybe, if it even went up. The Brent, which is Europe, for instance, is $69 to $70. That is where I think it went up $1 or $2. Okay, let's get the price for gold and silver. Normally, I would say gold and silver are going to go up together with oil. If they shut the Persian Gulf, gold and silver are on the way. I go to Kitco for this. And gold is still over 5,000 like yesterday, 50.57. And silver maybe is a little bit better at 83.61. Okay, so we're waiting for the surge here. The big resistance point for gold now is 5,500, and that's not really a big resistance point. It really isn't. It's a resistance point, but it's not a big resistance point. Okay, it really isn't. Let me look at the live stream. I do try to answer questions. So if you guys got questions, I'll try to get them answered. Being a Bible believing site, Old and New Testament, I'm going to do some praise. There is no God like Jehovah. There is no God like Jehovah. There is no God like Jehovah. I'm not seeing. It went down a little, did it? Okay, it could have. You could certainly ask me a question about Judaism. Wait and see if someone asked me, can I ask you a question about Judaism? I don't know if I'm get that question. I told the person that they could, but I'm not seeing anybody respond. So I'll give it a few seconds and then I'll go move on. Sometimes they leave. They want an immediate response, and if they can't get that, they go away or something. No, I'm not seeing any response. No. So I got to move on. The show must go on, right? Okay. All righty. So satellite images are showing U.S. forces in Qatar loading missiles onto truck launchers amid the Iran tensions. Wow. Okay. Now truck launching missiles are very dangerous because you don't know where they are. See, what Iran would try to do is fly surveillance drones and get GPS coordinates on the missile launches and then try to attack the missile launches. But I mean, that's giving them a heck of a benefit of the doubt in their technology. But when you got mobile missile launches, they're moving around constantly. You don't know what to do. You don't know where they are. All they got to do is go 300-400 yards away. So if you got a big missile that comes in and hits where it used to be last night, and you're 300 yards to the east, it's not going to do much. But they wouldn't be 300 yards; they'd probably be more like a mile away. And all that would happen in a mile is they'd hear it, they'd see the smoke, and the ground would shake a little bit, maybe at most. That's it. That gives an Iran an Excedrin headache, they used to say in the TV commercials in the 60s and 70s. Excedrin, I don't know if they still make it. It was basically an aspirin that had caffeine in it. So if you wanted to wake up in the morning and you had a hangover, I think it was a Hollywood hangover remedy. You took a few of these and you got jacked up with the caffeine at the same time you were curing the headache. But, the best way to deal with hangovers is don't drink. You don't get them. There is supposed to be vodka that will not cause a hangover. I've had people from Russia tell me, but I've never tried it and I don't intend to. It's still bad for you if you don't get a hangover, but you pretty much got to. It dehydrates you and messes up a lot of things. Hard to imagine that you wouldn't get a hangover, but I don't know. A lot of people have told me that you could do it without a hangover. Okay, so let's keep going. Netanyahu is going to tell Trump that phase 2 of the Gaza peace plan is not moving. Well, I'm rather certain Trump knows that. The EU clears Google to purchase Israel-founded cybersecurity Unicom Wiz for $32 billion. So what does Netanyahu want to do? Well, he wants to disarm Hamas. Remember, we heard Rubio, Witkoff, and Trump over and over, repeated. Oh, if they don't disarm, we're going to kill them and blow them up, and nothing. So I would think Netanyahu has to be a complete dirtbag moron to attack Iran and endanger Israel, thinking Trump's going to come to the rescue. You got to be an idiot to trust in Trump. So the mobile missile launches is a new one, and it's pretty serious. And see how that works out. Trump is saying Netanyahu wants a good deal with Iran. Nuclear talks this time are different. On the eve of the prime minister's visit, okay, the U.S. president says either Iran makes a deal or we will have to do something very tough. Top Iranian representative goes to Oman and meets the Houthi officials. Why is he doing that? Because they're giving hugs and kisses to the Houthis who are going to attack the Red Sea when the fighting goes off and attempt to shoot missiles and drones at Israel and possibly also Jordan and Saudi Arabia. For the first time since the fall of Maduro, that's Venezuela regime, Venezuela sends oil to Israel. I would say that would be better phrased, sells oil and delivers it to Israel. So Trump is definitely making a statement that changes in Venezuela have occurred and they're significant. And I concur, they have. How significant and how much control Trump has over Venezuela remains to be seen. The U.S. has completed deployment of one battery of the THAAD defense systems. The U.S. has completed the deployment. Oh, we got that. What this battery of THAAD systems includes is this. It includes a command post, whoopee-doo, a long-range multifunction radar, and 6 launchers. So they're set up for bear. Each launcher might hold 4 or 6 missiles. I'm not sure. I could check, but this radar system that America has that they're tying to the THAADs is a rather relatively long range system. It gets out 600 to 1,000 kilometers. So that's it has the max range is 600 miles. Of course, it can operate shorter than 600 miles. Data transfer to the THAAD interceptor missile, and its guidance happens So the way this works is if the Iranian fires a ballistic missile from Iran, the THAAD is going to detect it at a distance of 1,000 all the way to 1,500 kilometers, so 600 to 900 miles. So it's going to pick it up very, very fast. At 800 kilometers, which is 400, what is that? 480 miles. It will already know exactly where it will land and at what speed it's moving. So when it knows the path, if it knows where it's landing, it has a pretty good idea where it's going to travel by to get there. And it'll also know its speed, so it knows what point in time it's going to be in a certain area because it has the speed and it could determine the area. Okay. Now, the radar that goes with it, of course, is a major piece of this operation. At a distance of 150 to 200 kilometers, the THAAD, which is, roughly 90 to 120 miles, it'll launch an anti-missile missile, in other words, takedown from missiles or drones, on an interception trajectory, which will neutralize the target by a direct hit in space of an altitude of 100 to 200 kilometers. 100 to 150 kilometers. No. That's a lie. You're not getting up that high. You're going to have to break the firmament to get up there. They're not going that high. Aircraft get up to about 70,000 feet. Okay, and if you're talking 100 kilometers, which is the low side, so 100 kilometers is 60 miles times 5,200 for an approximation of the amount of feet. That's 312,000 feet. And no, that's not realistic. Okay. The U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Hezbollah is a threat to peace and stability in the Middle East. The Treasury Department will act to disconnect these terrorists from the global financial system in order to give Lebanon a chance to become peaceful and prosper once again. When now Trump's sanctions do become effective, but it's going to take more than that. They'll just use Bitcoin or cash in a suitcase. That's all. So if we're going to get the F-22s here in the Middle East, they are likely going to be leading the charge. Now, possibly the F-22s are more stealthy than the F-35s, or it's a stealth that Iran's not used to. Maybe they got used to the F-35s because it was picked up on their radar so much. But now the F-22, they're very, very unfamiliar with. Iran got new radar from China that's very long-range radar, and that's probably why. Let's get a little research on this and see if we got anything on that. Okay. Is the F-22 fighter jet more stealthy, harder to detect than the F-35? We'll get a good answer. Let's see. I have no idea. It says yes. It's generally more stealthy and harder to detect than the F-35. Why is it stealthy? It's built primarily for air-to-air dominance. Okay, so that could mean that Iran does have, 5 or 15 or 20 planes from China. These big cargo planes that came over could be carrying Chinese fighter jets, and they just take the wings off. It's an extreme emphasis on low radar cross section from all angles. So it's saying the radar ain't bouncing back with a decent signal. So you can't get a lock on the thing. Super cruise. It can go supersonic without afterburner. I didn't know that. And less heat signature. I didn't know it could break the sound barrier without the afterburners. Oh, this is fascinating. We'll dig into that a little bit in a minute. Internal weapons only. Yeah, they don't have to hang stuff under the wings and below the fuselage. So that means that. Now, they might hang extra fuel tanks under the wings or under the fuselage while the F-22 is approaching Iran. But then when it gets a few hundred miles away from Iran, they jettison the fuel tanks. Maybe they wait till they're 300 miles away or something like that or 200 or something, they're not gonna have a problem with getting picked up on radar. Considered the hardest fighter jet in the world to detect on radar. F-35 Lightning II, very stealthy, but designed as multi-role air-to-ground strike sensors. Now, we had a guy in politics before Netanyahu ran him out of politics. He was a good guy. His name was Moshe Feiglin, lived in the territories and everything, a good guy. And he said when he was in the Knesset, he investigated what would be the best planes to buy from America before they got the F-35s. And he said undoubtedly the F-22. I believe him. He wasn't one of those, rotten guys. And the Netanyahu torpedoed his career. Slightly larger radar signals than the F-22, so easier to pick up. Carries more external mission gear at times, which can reduce stealth. Oh, yeah. Uses advanced electronic warfare jamming to compensate. Very interesting. Much better sensors and battlefield awareness. Interesting. The various military analysts are saying if both of them don't have stuff hanging on outside the body of the plane, the F-22 is probably the hardest aircraft on Earth to detect by radar. Okay, that's helping us understand what's going on. Now, I don't know how many let's find out a few other details. How many F-22s does America have? Israel has none. Oh my gosh. They got 180 to 185 of these F-22 Raptors. They usually have 125 to 135 ready to go into war. So America might send a dozen over here. I have a feeling what they're going to use these planes for is to go in and destroy the radar that China has. Maybe along with F-35s, or maybe preceding them. I don't know. Okay. Now let's get some speed figures. How fast can the F-22 go without using the afterburners? My gosh, I never knew this. It can go up to 1.8 Mach with Mach 1.8 without the afterburners. Okay, let me put that in miles per hour for you. Mach is 750 miles per hour, speed of sound, times 1.8, which is the maximum. 1350 without the afterburners. That's remarkable because, one of the ways that the missile will get you is on the heat signature And it's not going to have that kind of a massive heat signature. Okay, now we want to see how fast the F-35s can go. Oh, let's see with the F-22 with afterburners. Hold on. Does the F-22 have afterburners? And if so, how fast can it go with the afterburners on? Oh my gosh. This thing could go up to 1700 miles an hour. 16 to 1700 miles an hour, Mach 2.2, with the afterburners on. Do you understand how that, I mean, that means it would cross the United States in about, from New York to San Francisco, in about an hour and a half. You know, wow. This is some. Now I know why Moshe Feiglin told us that we should buy this, but America doesn't sell them. The maintenance costs on the F-22 is supposed to be chokingly high. And they don't sell them. Why? They got a bunch of them and they don't want anybody using them but them. That gives them the upper hand. I don't think you can take this thing out. So I think because it is new radar from China, they're nervous and they're going to use this to take out that new radar. So basically, Iran could sit here and go pull their hair out. They're not getting anywhere. And that's starting to make sense to me why Khomeini, do you mind if I call him Ayatollah Shmuckmeini, is sending money, him and his family are sending their money out on Bitcoin and other ways. His kid a day or two ago or something like that sent out, I think, 387 million US dollars. Shmuckmeini is thought to have as much as 25 billion with a B. He's not 1 or 2, 3 billion. He's way up there. This has really been an eye opener with those planes, Iran is not ready for this. I don't think they ever had the F-22s around over their country, so they don't have the radar signature recorded in their computers and know what it looks like or what they see on their radar. And, it's going to destroy their radar. And when the radar's out, then the F-35s will come in and take out the ground-to-air missiles. And we'll open up corridors, whoever's doing it. It's going to have corridors where they can travel up these corridors without any fear of any radar and hit whatever targets they want. Now, the next question that we need to have answered, in America and Israel ain't telling us, is the missile cities got to go. Trump knows that because they're pointed at, Europe, parts of Europe anyway, and the American bases and the oil-producing countries in the Middle East and Israel, and he's not happy about that. So he's got to shut that place down. They can't be allowed to run around attacking everybody. Netanyahu's got concerns with number of number of missiles that Iran has. And, I hear numbers that they're saying Iran wants to strive to get to 8,000. Now, we don't know how many they have, but I'm hearing, 1 to 2,000. But do I know that's true or false? I don't. They sure had enough of them the last time where they were sending swarms of them. So, and that was in June. So you got July, August, September, October, November, December, January. You got 8 months now. And they could easily have picked up in the 8 months, I would say at least 400, 3, 4, 5, 600. So they might be at 1,000 or something like that. I don't think we're going to be able to blow up the missile cities, but I think we could deactivate their entrances, exits, and they have to have openings that the missiles go through. They're not going to fire missiles through a couple of 100 feet of dirt, and put a little digger on the nose of the missile and it's going to go. No, they're not going to do it. It'll blow itself up. We can't do that. So they got to have an opening and a missile goes up, out of the inside of the earth, right? Okay. There's different ways that it could be done. I understand they have openings they could open and fire, and they also could put them on a something with wheels, a launch with wheels, and have an underground or have a ramp or something that goes out from the missile city to the real world where there's no coverings, and they aim the missile and hit the launch, and then they take the launcher back inside and put another missile on it. And if you've got 100 of these missile cities, you're doing this all day long. They're going to make us crazy. Now, what they did in the past, which they would try to do again, I'm sure, is deploy drones and high-speed missiles at us from Iran and or Iraq, and hope we can accommodate that swarming attack and take us out. Now, I'm predominantly here to teach the prophecies of Israel, okay? And I also teach Bible, and I also put together current events with Bible prophecy. I have no reason to believe that this attack is going to devastate Israel. But we do know that in these end times, the Lord says all the armies are going to be wiped out. So Israel's army could go. Then the people aren't going to be dependent on or leaning on the Israeli army. It's all busted up. And they may start turning to Jehovah. See, that got to happen. And this is just one way it could happen. But that got to happen. So maybe Trump's going to set us up. And because Satan wants to get rid of Israel, and Satan's, Trump is Satan's boy, and he'll try to get rid of Israel, just stab Israel in the back. And Netanyahu might even be in on it. Mr. October 7th, no, I don't want any independent investigations of that. So he could be, that something might happen. I have no reason to believe that it will. I don't read it in scripture, so maybe it doesn't. But it's certainly going to come down on their heads if they try it. It's an interesting dilemma, you know. Um, I don't know um, what's really going to happen here. It could go clean, and Trump just attacks Iran and does a wipeout on their head, and then we join in. I don't know. We know that eventually Iran and Iraq are going to be destroyed, and Yemen. And we don't know if it's going to happen this time here or it's going to be a delay and happen again some other time. We don't know what's going to happen. Perhaps America, the daughter of Babylon, goes up before it has a chance to take out Iran, and some other countries take out Iran, because all we hear is shall be destroyed by her enemies in the plural. So it's not Israel operating by themselves, it's in the plural. So, it's a challenge, to get the exact thing, but something's going to happen. Explosions in Iran constantly. Iran, it does nothing. Netanyahu or whoever's behind this is going to keep blowing more and more stuff up. And then they're going to start saying, gee, we're getting away with this. Let's shut down the IRGC. If they can blow these buildings and warehouses up, they'll start blowing up the IRGC. A lot of them are going to get killed. That's what's scaring them. But if they blow up the IRGC, then the protesters could run amok and overthrow the government. The idea that in Trump's mind, overthrow the government and I want to get the oil. What's really going to happen is the government and the country is going to be demolished, fall apart. The people are going to go into exile in all the countries in the world, and the sword will follow them and they get cut off. In the Gog and Magog days of Ezekiel 38-39, we read of Persia, which is not Iran, not Elam, and it will come back. And that's right in the scriptures in Jeremiah 49. Okay, now let me speak on something let me see if I got that comment or question from that person, because I do try to sincerely answer questions if I get them. Uh, Buffering, I remember buffering. Yes, yes. It was a buffered aspirin, so it wouldn't upset your stomach. I haven't taken an aspirin in decades, but they used to give you like a burning feeling in your stomach. And they said that if you took them a lot, you'd get ulcers from it. Do I don't, I remember that, yeah. Then they replaced aspirin with Tylenol, which Tylenol is not good for inflammation, it's good for pain. They have another thing they sell in Israel that's better for pain than Tylenol. I can't remember the top of my head. I got a bottle of it here. It must be years old. Maybe once a year I'll use it. Once every 2 years. It's you don't get any narcotic effect or anything, but it does work well on pain. I'm gonna take a break for a minute. I'll be right back. I don't. We'll be right back. All right. One thing I want to bring out is that you guys need to understand that your problems, wherever in the world you live, are predominantly coming from the government of your country. Because Satan is still the God of this age and the head of every country, and the congresses and the parliaments of every country and the monarchs of every country are always going to be Satan bots. If that wasn't the case, the other countries would make war on that country, overthrow the regime, and put a Satan bot in. So it's always Satan bots, and that's where 90% of your problems are coming from. Because you're under the rule of Satan. And as far as I know, we're the only ones that are using the keys to the kingdom to mess with him. And the other people are suffering and they don't know what to do about it. And they just put up with it. We're the only ones that don't put up with it. Let me see if I got any questions here. Greetings from Bangalore. Bangalore. Oh, that's far away. My ex and I reconnected after 3 years. I told her I want her back. She left a toxic relationship and I'm being her finance and I'm helping her financially. She says she needs time to decide what should I do. Guy, let me explain. There's always two sides to the story. The only way, I'm not calling you a liar, I'm saying there's a difference in perspective between the different people. And there's a difference in priority of values. So the only way you really can work with people on a marriage counseling type thing is when you have raised them up individually and then together, see how they interact. And obviously, how am I going to do that? So I could give you advice. And the best advice is seek the Lord as to what you should do. And what we can do is put a prayer request out for you right now, and I'll use the word ground dog. Okay. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I come to you now, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, for ground dog. I pray you would give this person guidance, leading, direction, and wisdom in how to deal with this marital dilemma and situation. And I ask this for you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you guys that are believers can agree with this, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Considering that we're so far apart and I don't have, insight into both and everything else, this is the best thing, is to ask the Lord to help you. So I hope he helps you. That's the best I could do, believe me. Trying to jump in and do it myself is, I'm in the dark. I don't know what, to know what would work best with her, I need to know her, and I can't do that. Okay, so I'm not set up to do that. I don't see the other question from the person. A lot of times what they do is they make fun. They ask a question and then they make fun of the what's called the moil, which is the rabbi that does the circumcision, and they say he does certain things, and this is a lot of it is true and a lot of it isn't, and that's a lot of times I get that it's a mockery, and I don't know if this time it was that or not, but it does happen. Haven't happened in a few years, but I used to get it. Okay, so that's what we got going on here. Someone asked me to go through Jeremiah 51, like around verse 50, and we'll do that. This is destruction of the daughter of Babylon. And let me see where to jump in, what verse to get on. All right. Let's pick it up at Jeremiah 51:46. And lest your heart faint and you fear for the rumor that shall be heard in the land. Now, that would be the rumor, I believe, inside America, not Israel. A rumor shall both come 1 year, and after that, in another year, shall. Let's make sure it's not Israel. No, it's America. It says in the previous verse, my people, go you out of the midst of her, speaking of America, and deliver you every man his soul from the fierce anger of Jehovah. So he's telling you got to get out of America so you don't experience my anger, okay? And lest your heart faint and you fear for the rumor that shall be heard in the land, a rumor shall come 1 year, and after that in another year shall come a rumor and violence in the land, ruler against ruler. Now, it's basically saying a violent revolution. See, violence in the land it's not a war. It's not saying war. The word for violence, let's check that. It's 2555. Yeah. Hummus. Maybe I should pronounce it Hamas. Yeah, maybe pronounce it Hamas. It's not Hamas, it's a H, not a H sound. Chet, not a hey. Violence, wrong, cruelty. Someone's going to say, well, is that Hamas? And, it sure sounds like Hamas, but the word really is different. Okay, sorry, but It does sound like them. It's a good fit, but the wrong word. The spelling's not right. Okay. Violence, implication, wrong by metonymy. I don't know that word. Um, unjust gain, damage, false injustice, oppressor. So it sounds like it can be a civil war because ruler, it says, you see, violence in the land, ruler against ruler. Yeah. It sounds like it's a civil war. There is ruler against ruler in America because the judges go against Trump, mayors, governors, congress people. So there is ruler against ruler. Okay. But what about the violence? Well, it might need to be upgraded to fulfill the prophecy. Therefore, behold, the days come that I will do judgment upon the graven images of Babylon, and her whole land shall be confounded. That's confused, bewildered, don't know what to do. And all her slain shall fall in the midst of her. Then the heaven and the earth and all that is therein shall sing for Babylon, for the spoilers in the plural, those are looters, pillagers, plunderers, uh, shall come unto her from the north, saith Jehovah. So when he says from the north, he's not saying Canada. He's talking, I believe, north of Israel, which gives you things, Muslim countries, Lebanon, Hezbollah, Turkey, Iraq, um, you know, other places, and Iran is, you could sort of construe it as being in the north, but quite a bit up in the north. And the heaven and the earth are singing. So when you see people that get on you, they say, "Why are you knocking our country, America? Why are you doing that and this and that?" Well, a lot of them don't know that the daughter of Babylon's America. They really don't know. A lot of them will never believe it, and a lot of them think America is just the greatest place, and you know they're not going to reject. They're not going to accept it. Next verse 49. As Babylon hath caused the slain of Israel to fall, so at Babylon shall fall the slain of all the earth. So Babylon, which is Babel, there's no Babylon word in the Hebrew Bible anywhere. It means confusion. So they've added words in here. Let me get it to more precise. Hang on, let me check another translation. Just go to 49. 1 second. And let me get over to... So I'm going to read another translation. Heaven and earth with all that is in them, the whole world with its animated and inanimated creatures. No, forget that. So it's saying heaven and earth with all that is in them, heaven and earth, break out rejoicing over the fall of Babylon. And then it's saying, for Babylon has enslaved and laid waste all the world. The second part, okay, no. Then it says the destroyers shall come from the north is logically connected with to which blah blah blah. It's just the guy's commentary. I don't know. This wasn't very helpful. Okay. Let's go to 50. Jeremiah 51:50. It says very bad things about America, and heaven is going to be rejoicing about them. So should you. Wake up. If heaven's rejoicing because it fell, you should be rejoicing. Unless you're of the dark side and you want to go to the pit with Satan and his buddies, you that have escaped the sword, go away, stand not still. That means get out of town, get out of America. Remember the Lord afar, that's Jehovah afar, and let Jerusalem come into your mind. So that's your next Exodus. Verse 51, we are confounded because we have heard reproach, shame that covered our face. Covered our face, for strangers are come into the sanctuaries of the Lord's house. So this sounds like the next temple is already here, like in Malachi 3. The temple comes before the glory of God of Israel goes into it. He enters in suddenly. The entering in process can be seen in Ezekiel 43. Malachi 3 and 4 are relevant. Zechariah 12, verse 10 is chapter 10 is relevant. Okay, hath covered our faces, for strangers. So Trump and other strangers could be going into the next temple to defile it. Now, Elijah should be there, but maybe he doesn't do anything about it. He lets them do it, or he didn't know they did it. I don't know. Or maybe would the temple be there before Elijah? Maybe, but I doubt it. Wherefore, I doubt it. I doubt that. Wherefore, behold, the days come, saith Jehovah, that I will do judgment upon her graven images, and through all her land the wounded shall groan. Though Babylon should mount up to heaven, and though she should fortify the height of her strength, the height of her strength, yet from the what? Yet from me. Okay, so the Lord sends, shall spoilers come unto her, saith Jehovah. And the Lord's going to reward the spoilers. He says that they're not going to be disappointed. So how long does it take to loot, plunder, and pillage the United States? Well, I don't know, but I'd say you're looking at weeks, wouldn't you? You know, it's a lot of land to cover. They're not going to come with 11 million people, I don't think. It's probably going to be a lot less than that. A sound of a cry cometh from Babel, and great destruction from the land of the Chaldeans. Chaldeans were soothsayers, witches, because Jehovah hath spoiled Babel and destroyed out of her the great voice when her so that's your Chaldeans. Now we're in verse 55. Because the Lord hath spoiled Babel by sending the spoilers, and destroyed out of her the great voice when her waves do roar like great waters, a noise of their voice is uttered. Because the spoiler is come upon her, even upon Babylon, or Babel, and her mighty men are taken, every one of their bows is broken. For Jehovah No, for Jehovah Adonai. No, for Jehovah Elohim. Or El. I'm sorry, this is different wording. It's Jehovah El. So it's saying Jehovah God. Of recompenses. See, now we're in the period of recompenses. Now, shall surely requite payback. He's surely going to pay him back. And I just, you don't get away with anything with the Lord. It may be delayed, but you get away with nothing. And your idea of delayed may not be his idea either. So take that into account. And I will make drunk her princes. Princes could be like mayors, governors, the guy that owns Amazon, the rich ones, and her wise. Those are the ones that are wise in the dark arts, her captains and her rulers and her mighty men, and they shall sleep This thing is giving me difficulty here. What happened? Let me close it and open it. That did it. Oh no, it won't go away. There it goes. And it shall be when thou hast made an end. No. Wait, I'm too far ahead. Where am I? Okay, we did the make drunk, and now we go to verse 58. Thus saith Jehovah of armies or hosts, the broad walls. Now that could be long walls too. Okay, and the only walls you really got are between America and Mexico, right? Okay. The broad walls of Babel shall be utterly broken. Is it hard for you to imagine the people coming from Mexico, not only Mexicans, others pushing through? No. The one in on the looting shall be utterly broken, and her high gates shall be burned with fire, and the people shall labor in vain, and the folk in the fire, and they shall be weary. So that's the fires. It says he will kindle fires in and around our cities, in and about our cities. That's that popping up again. And there's a lot of fires in America. I get reports there's still in California right through the winter. Just about every day, fires breaking out. That's not common. The word which Jeremiah the prophet commanded Sarah, the son of Neriah, the son of Messiah, when he went with Zedekiah, the king of Judah, into Babylon in the 4th year of his reign, and Sariah was quiet. So Jeremiah wrote in a book, a saith, it could be a scroll, I expect, all the evil that should come upon Babel, even all these words that are written against Babel. And Jeremiah said, shall read all these words, then shall thou say, O Jehovah, thou hast spoken against this place to cut it off, that none shall remain in it, neither man nor beast, but that it shall be desolate forever. And it shall be when thou hast made an end of reading this saith, that the book or scroll, that thou shalt bind a stone to it and cast it into the midst of the Euphrates River, the Euphrates, it says, and thou shalt say, thus shall Babel sink, and shall not rise from the evil. Not rise from the evil that I will bring upon her, and they shall be weary. Thus far are the words of Jeremiah. So the Lord does this to America. Now, people think it's not America. It says, Jeremiah 50:51, the great voice. That's America. There's nobody else. The Pope. They listen to the Pope. Who listens to the Pope? The Buddhists, the Muslims, the Hindus, the Jews, the atheists, the communists. It ain't the Pope. Okay? It ain't Russia. It ain't Saudi Arabia. It's America. The Hindus listen to America. The Buddhists listen to America. The Catholics listen to America. Catholics don't listen to anybody else. It's all, it's America that's the great voice, okay? And who's the hammer of the whole earth? Who's bringing the hammer over to the Middle East? America's the hammer. They don't, what do you call it? Iranians don't come over to attack America. They didn't, it's Trump is the hammer. But he doesn't do what God wants. He does what Satan wants. So that's that. So there'll be, before this happens, before the appearing, you'll hear the trumpet from heaven, and you'll get it. Don't worry when it's going to happen. You'll be fine. And then you go on the next Exodus. Now, as I figure it, you got to be there before the big attacks start rolling in, because nobody's going to survive those, it says. And also, you're going to see more and more people leaving America. We've seen some of that, but I don't think we've seen the fullness. Now, things like this could take many months and they could take many hours. You don't know. You don't know. Don't start trying to predict it. After you see all the fires, then waves wash over America, probably to put the fires out. And then the animals move in to the mansions, the houses, the government buildings, and it becomes a place for animals like the owls and things like that. Um, it becomes a wasteland. You see, the same thing happens to Moab, which is Jordan, and also Edom, which is Yemen. You see the same thing happen. You know, Elam gets destroyed, Iraq and Iran, and maybe a piece of Syria, but it comes back. So it's not going to be the same thing. So the ones that get it is going to be America. They get it that way, where they never come back. Be America, Jordan, not all of Jordan, Central South Jordan, which is Moab, and Edom, which is Yemen, and Iraq. Parts of Iraq, I don't think will ever come back, but some of it probably will. I'm not sure. It'll come back because it's really Elam, not Iraq. So I think it'll come back to some extent, but parts of it also won't. My hunch, it's based on um, the original Babylon never will come back. So I'd say it's based on that. So that's why we watch. Okay, sometimes people say they don't like that. My offerings go down. They want to focus on just the Bible. Well, we have to watch too, so we don't get taken off guard. So I put a lot of energy in that. Let's see if we got any questions. My iPad is upside down. There really is no such thing. The iPad doesn't care which way you hold it. But yeah, when you look at the Apple emblem, I'm upside down because I got it plugged in and charging. If I have it the other way, the charger is going to poke into me and it breaks the wire, and I don't like it. So I keep it this way. Okay, so we wait and watch, and I'll keep watching what's going on and try to give you some heads up every day as to what I'm seeing here in the Middle East. And I dig deep and get a lot of news. So, okay, so don't worry. Whatever you do, don't worry if you're in America. God will get you out. If you believe you're getting out, don't worry about it. Don't give it a second thought. You'll get out. Don't worry. Just be observant. It says, lift up your head. Your redemption draweth nigh. Lift up your head is watch, too, not looking at missiles or anything, but just be observant. Lifting up your head is you're not just falling asleep. Okay. So, my Heavenly Father, I'm going to get a prayer out for us. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I pray for all the true believers and me and my wife. I pray for all of us and our animals and pets to be safe and secure and happy, healthy, and whole. I pray that we would understand the Bible and Bible prophecy, and you would keep your spirit poured out on us, and we would have wisdom and faith. And I pray that none of us get taken off guard in these dire days. And I pray that we have peace and joy and calm and rest and walk with you and understand the scripture better. And I teach better live streams and videos. And we have adequate money, adequate work, adequate clients. And I pray all this to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Still looking to see if somebody wants to upload my videos off of YouTube to Rumble. Open an account on Rumble. I'd appreciate it. I'm pretty busy where I am at now, and I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And I hope you got something out of this, and I'm out. Thank you.